What inspired you to become a photographer?
Oh, that's a weird question. Because I can't paint. And I like nature, I like getting out, climbing mountains, fording streams, so to speak. So photography just led me down that way. I've enjoyed it. I like the landscape. And I suppose I ended up or reading a lot on it, following a few other photographers whose work I like, who became my mentors. And it's that challenge, being out in the environment, usually left alone to yourself. So it's good. Nature provides. God provides some nice lighting some nights.
Cool.
And I just enjoy, I don't know how you would, the ecstatic sort of feeling you get from it. So it's really good.
Why do you think spaces like the Ink of Light Festival are important for the Baha'i community?
I think Ink of Light's good because it draws people together that have a common interest besides just the Baha'i side of it. So it allows really people who are Bahais and have another interest to come together, and it gives them a chance to socialise, share. As we've heard with some of the sessions this morning, they can learn from each other, get the network. If certain people are into poetry, they can start forming a little poetry circle, or into music and writing compositions. We've got a few composers here today. So it's very broad, covers a broad aspect really. The Ink of Light's really, it's aimed at writers, but it's really aimed at all artists and all creative people.
What do you hope people will take away from the Ink of Light Festival?
Well, I hope people, when they leave Ink of Light, go home, they take home the enthusiasm, hopefully the love for writing and reading, and to know that really everyone's got a story within themselves and they can share that, and it doesn't have to be about themselves personally, but their own history or, history of their communities. And they come back the next year. And I think that's always a good sign if they come back, and we have many here this time that were here last year. So, you've hit the nail on the head somewhere. And I think it's a very relaxed atmosphere. It's not a teacher-student sort of atmosphere. It's just a shared collaboration of people wishing to come together.
What have you been recently reflecting on with regards to your craft?
My interest, I suppose, too, comes from, I like self-publishing. I don't sell anything, but I just like the whole idea. You have an idea and you bring that idea into fruition and you end up with a product. Something hopefully you're happy with that hasn't got too many grammatical errors in it. But no, it's I like that challenge. And I like that idea of having, your mind's blank and you come up with an idea and you go through all those processes to make it happen, which means designing. For me, with photos, it's getting the right photos on the right pages. I can spend weeks and weeks and weeks just, no, that photo doesn't go with that photo. Try and find other photos that'll work. So photography is a lot like writing. Every photo is its own composition. It has a beginning and an end, and it's trying to tell a story. A lot of people may look at a photo of a landscape, for example, and just, oh yeah, that's a pretty picture, but usually as a landscape photographer, you've got a lot more. It's not just a snapshot. There's other characters, there's other elements going in there that people don't realise. They say it's a nice photo, but they don't really analyse why it's a nice photo. That's the job of a photographer, really, to make it look nice, make it look easily nice without people having to wonder why that rock's there or why you've got that tree there as part of the composition. And then when you translate it to a page, because photos are no good in the shoebox in your wardrobe, you're sort of wanting to get that work out there. And so you try and tell stories. When it comes to a book, you might have a whole lot of photos that all build along to make that story. For example, the one on the volcanoes there, so you're sort of showing an overall landscape right up until you got the lava erupting out of the volcanoes. So you cover all sorts of aspects, hopefully give people who look at it a sense of being there.
What are your thoughts on the relationship between science and spirituality?
It's hard to sort of explain, but sci- science is really just a shadow in this world. Like we are shadows of the spiritual world, as Abdul Baha says, drifting shadows. And so I think science is just a manifestation of the drifting shadows of the spiritual world. And there are so many commonalities. I think I spoke to you yesterday about the kaleidoscope and why I'm choosing the kaleidoscope as my talk today, and just something so insignificant that nobody would ever think about has such connections to the Baha'i faith, by its name, by when it came out, the fact that a toy is actually one of the most refined optical instruments when it came out. It relied on a number of principles of law for it to work, and yet at the end of the day, it gives you a nice symmetrical pattern. It's just showing you beauty, where other instruments of the time might have a more definite scientific purpose, like a telescope or a microscope. The kaleidoscope encompasses so many laws of physics just to give you something that's beauty.